So a couple days ago, I was on the phone with a homie of mine, and we were kind of just looking back on this trip we had been on together about a year ago at this point, I think. We were just talking about our favorite moments, looking back on it together, and I slowly started to realize how truly eventful this trip was and how it's probably one of the most memorable trips, vacations, whatever you want to call it, I've ever been on. And it'd be cool to have a way to like fully look back on it as a whole, and that's why I kind of just want to make like a little story time kind of video looking back on this whole thing. Growing up, making like story time content was one of my favorite things to do. I just kind of liked retelling things that I found kind of ridiculous in my life, and yeah, that's just what I want to do today. I know everyone's attention span is absolutely cooked, so I'm not going to make this intro any longer than it needs to be. Let's get right into it. So to preface this happened exactly a year ago when I graduated. I literally, like, the day I graduated, I packed my bags after graduation and went on this trip. So yeah, as of this month, it's been exactly a year since I graduated high school and I went on this trip. But the story starts a little before that, so I'm gonna start there. A few months before, I'd say like 4 or 5, my friend Zach, that's who I was on the phone with, hit me up with a proposition, if you will, a side quest. He asked me if I wanted to go to Chicago to go to 2 concerts on 2 different days. First, we would be seeing this band called Turnover, and I knew of them at the time. I wasn't a huge fan, but leading up to this whole experience, I did get into them, and I love their music. I would really recommend it. The whole show was amazing, but we're going to get into that. And the highlight of the whole trip was supposed to be the second concert, which we would be going to see The Weeknd in Chicago. And on top of everything, he said he already has the tickets for me. All I had to do was obviously pitch in a little bit with the trip, and yeah, I could come. Now, obviously, me being the eager little fuck that just wanted to go off with my friends for 3 days and get fucked up, I automatically said yes. Now, obviously, after that, there was a little bit of hesitation. I actually had to think about what I just agreed to. I actually had to think about the logistics of everything and how I was actually going to accomplish everything money-wise.
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, gosh.
Money-wise? Please.
Can you suck it?
I was a dumb kid. I still am not good with money at all. So I really had to think here. I really had to use all the neurons in my brain to really put everything together here. But eventually I did kind of settle on the fact that I was indeed going to go, and everything was swell. Leading up to when I was actually going to graduate, I was finishing up high school. I was pulling in very close. I was not a good student at all, but I somehow managed to finish it. And I realized that the day we were actually supposed to head over to Chicago, the day we were actually supposed to get the rental car and be on our way, it was my fucking graduation day, dude. I was supposed to graduate. I don't know how I missed that, but somehow I managed to. So I text Zach about it, and he's like, it's okay, we can still plan around this, you can just like pack your shit and have it ready and all this, all that. And in my head, I was like pulling out. Like, I was not gonna go anymore. Like, in my head, I was just gonna call it quits. I was gonna say, sorry, Zach, like, I'm not going. But I ended up deciding not to do that because it's really a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like, who else gets to just pack their bags the day of graduating? Like, the literal day you just walk the stage and just you get to go see 2 great artists with your friends at that. Only real reason I was having cold feet was because I was already nervous about graduating, and I do get homesick quite easily, so it was like 2 very big like changes like all at once. It kind of felt like too much at the time, but I'm glad I ended up seeing it through. Not to mention, it'd be pretty lame of me to back out on Zach like that, especially because originally there was supposed to be like 4 or 5 people going, but it ended up just being me, him, and his brother. He also spent so much time and money into planning and getting everything. He got a fuck ton of alcohol and snacks. I put in some money to get some weed and shit, and he's the one who got the money for the rental car for the 3 days and for the hotel as well. Not to mention the tickets. All in all, over $1,000. I can't do that to my homie. I have to accompany him. So yeah, after finally like warming back up to the idea of going and just like soothing my nerves about the whole thing, we actually had to think about how we were going to pull this off and get there in time. Because the whole reason why we had to leave on that specific day was because the Turnover show was on that day at like 8. I don't remember now. I'm a bit rusty on like the specific times and everything, but it was somewhere between like 7 to 8 that the show started. And we were planning originally on checking into the hotel before we even went to the show, but we couldn't do that. We had to check into the hotel after the turnover show. My graduation was around like 7 or 8 in the morning. I don't remember exactly, but we had to leave no later than like 1 p.m. that day because from where I am, it takes about like 7 hours to drive to Chicago. And if we didn't leave in time, we were dead. I was just going to miss the turnover show. And it's just not ideal. So yeah, I wake up the morning of graduation. My lazy ass has packed absolutely nothing. And yeah, I wake up, I go, I walk the stage, whatever, whatnot. You know, this isn't a story about me graduating. But regardless, I get home around like 11 a.m. And yeah, it's very close to the time where I'm about to get picked up and we're about to go. I pack up everything I needed to pack. I packed like a couple outfits. I pretty much wore like the same outfit throughout the whole like 3 days I was there, and I did not care. She was an iconic outfit. Had the beat up fucking Stan Smiths, fucking one of my favorite flannels and baggy fucking Dickies jeans, bro. It was just the perfect attire. It was just the uniform fit for the absolute buffoonery that was about to ensue. The absolute hoot and a holler we were about to fucking have on some goblin shit. But yeah, I stuffed like everything I needed for 3 days in like one backpack. It was a pretty chunky backpack, I ain't gonna lie. But not too long after that, Zach ended up sliding on me to pick me up with his brother. They had gotten the rental car and everything. It was pretty nice. I said my goodbyes to everybody, and yeah, I was on my way. As soon as I got in, me and Zach dapped each other up, and we already knew it was gonna be a movie. We looked at each other and said, dude, not a single second of this trip is gonna be spent sober. Because neither of us were really gonna drive. It was gonna be mainly his brother. So, you know, I do what I do best, and I just hand him the Sir Benjamin Franklin, and we start ripping that shit immediately. I didn't get too fried. I didn't get too messed up or anything. I just wanted a nice, clean buzz to, you know, kind of coast me through this journey we were about to embark on. But yeah, the actual trip over there wasn't all that eventful. It was more so just chill for us. We ended up just listening to music or watching random ass videos. Me and Zach were passing the car back and forth, just letting the vibes generate, man. I ended up passing out for like 2 or 3 hours at some point, and then I remember us stopping at some gas station to take a piss, but I ended up pitching in to fill up the tank because it was getting pretty low. And I figured I'd at least help with something, you know? But yeah, we continue on the journey. We keep pushing it forward. And the whole time, we're just kind of concerned about time and if we're going to make it. We already kind of assumed that we're not going to make it to the hotel, so we ended up giving them a call. They told us we could check in at a later time. It was no big deal. So we weren't stressing about that anymore. We were now stressing about if we were going to make it to the turnover show in time. So with a little speeding and some good luck, we managed to get there in time. We literally changed the directions to take us to the venue. And when we got there, we had seen that there's already a line forming to enter, and we literally made it just in time. So we find some parking in some neighborhood that was really close by. And, you know, we get out, we stretch our legs, we're like, oh, finally, man, we made it. And, you know, at some point between us getting out of the car and us stretching our legs, me and Zach just kind of look at each other and we're like, you thinking what I'm thinking, man? Pre-game. We're pre-gaming the fucking show. We have to, man. It is not optional in this trip. On this trip, it is not optional. Yeah, we open up the trunk and we get those drinks going automatically. I mean, we get those drinks flowing, boys. Zach had gotten quite the assortment of alcohol. He got like a bucket of Fireball shooters, like 2 bottles. I'm not sure what kind of alcohol it was. I think it was like rum and tequila or something, but whatever it was, we got a couple shots of that in us before we went on to the show. And it wasn't enough to fuck me up. Like, I was definitely feeling it, but I was just mainly tired from the trip over here. And, you know, my eyes were just kind of like, it felt like I just kind of woke up on like a fresh morning kind of thing. But whatever, dude. I'm excited. We're walking to the venue, and, you know, this just feels great. The day, it feels great outside. It's just a beautiful day in this neighborhood, honestly. As we were heading towards the venue, we were walking towards the back of the line. It was quite long, I'm not gonna lie, but it didn't take forever to get in. But as we're walking, I ended up seeing something in my peripheral vision. On the ground, I see a literal fucking stizzy, like a disposable cart, and my fucking fiendish ass was like, it was right in front of me as I was seeing it, and it was like calling to me like the fucking Green Goblin mask.
You can't do this to me.
But in all seriousness, I see this and I pick it up, and it's pretty full. But like at this point, I take a look around at like the kind of people that we're gonna be seeing this show with, and it's just a bunch of like alt people. It's just a bunch of people like wearing band t-shirts and like, you know, just a bunch of young people. So I figured whatever is in this shit, there's a good chance it's not like fent or meth or like fucking DMT or some shit. There's a good chance it was just THC. So I just said fuck it and picked it up. And I'm like, dude, Zach, look at this shit, dog. And I show him and I'm like, dude, whatever's in here, like we're taking a big risk if we're gonna hit this. Like it's pretty full. I'm pretty sure it's THC. It's a Stizzy disposable. It's like a brand I'm familiar with, but there's no actual guarantee of where this came from or who made this or whatever. It very well, and I could have been fake. I don't know. Which is why if this happens to you, you should absolutely not do what I did. We ended up smoking on this cart for like the whole trip and like even some points past it. Like this was not a good decision. This shit could have very easily been laced with fent or some shit, but you know, I just decided to like roll the dice on it and just say fuck it and tap it. It ended up being just regular THC or like some fucking Delta 8 or whatever. It's I don't know. It was definitely not some like fent or DMT or anything. So me and Zach, being the absolute fiends we are, we just start tapping this shit back and forth, getting spiritually and mentally ready for this fucking experience. I definitely know whoever dropped that shit was pissed off. So, you know, after participating in some delinquent activities, we finally get into the show after having some trouble with the tickets and all that. It's not really important. So we're all excited. We're going in, like, leading up to this whole trip. Zach had been trying to put me on a turnover, and he'd been really hyping them up. So I'm excited to see what all the fuss is about, you know. We step into this like venue. It's set up like a kind of like a ballroom, not really. It's got this like fancy decor kind of thing going on, but we're pulling up and there's this like opening band playing, and whatever song they're playing, it's like this atmospheric, like the plucky like lead guitar, and it's just like it's adding to the atmosphere. They got blue lights and lasers going everywhere, but honestly the most captivating thing was the disco ball. Especially with all the decorations, it just fits so well. I think I have like a small little clip here to show you of us just getting into the show and us like trying to find a spot in the crowd, which I'll go ahead and play. So as you can see from that, I'm just following Zach, trying to get to the perfect vantage point in the crowd, somewhere not too close up to the stage, but not like, you know, just like a nice middle ground. This wasn't like a rowdy crowd or anything. Everyone was mainly just in a group of people, and they were just chilling, you know, dancing, feeling out the vibes. It was great. Not a single asshole in this fucking crowd, not a single like altercation throughout this whole thing. But yeah, we get to our spot in the crowd, and as we're waiting for turnover to get on stage, Zach kind of signals over to his brother to make himself useful and, you know, snag us a beer, a good old brewski. So, you know, he asks us what we want, and I'm kind of looking at each other, you know, me and Zach, and we're like, what do we want? So we're like, fuck it, let's get a Modelo. And that's what we fucking did, boys. We got a fucking Modelo. For whatever reason, he only got one can, but this was not a small little fucking can. This was a pretty tall can. So in between the three of us, honestly, it was perfect. I didn't want to sit there and get as drunk as Peter Griffin on a Sunday morning. I just wanted to sit there, enjoy the music, just take in the experience, and take small sips of beer here and there, and just feel the buzz. And I'm telling you, boys, this fucking Modelo, this single Modelo in between the three of us, this shit had us in an undescribable fucking tranquil state that I don't even think monks with years of training can reach. This singular Modelo had the three of us reach enlightenment like no other. And on top of that, not only did we have the Benjamin I brought for the trip, but we now had this fucking mystery doinker that we picked off the literal streets of Chicago. Straight ghoul shit, I'm telling you. But you know, I'm just sitting there waiting for the band to come. I'm excited. To give some context, this is legitimately like my favorite concert I've ever attended. Mind you, you've only attended like a handful, a good like 4 or 5, but hands down, yeah, this definitely takes the fucking cake. At the time, Turnover was doing like a 10-year anniversary tour for their album Peripheral Vision. So basically the whole outline of the show was they were gonna play every song off the album in order, and as well as their best hits after. So, you know, we're sitting there getting pumped, getting really excited, but most importantly, getting tipsy. But, you know, regardless, it comes time for the band to come out, and they start playing the first song off the album, Cutting My Fingers Off. I realized after recording this, I forgot to mention, like, this is an indie band. I know the name, a song name like that, it's easy to think this is like some hardcore shit. It's just indie. And this is actually one of the songs I don't really like much off the album, but even still, it set the tone perfectly for the rest of the show. Like, they sounded just like the record. Like, if anything, better. Like, the drums were punchier. Like, whoever was playing drums on that shit, holy fuck. They did a favor for us, and they just went extra hard on it.
Say that again.
Say that again.
They just went extra hard on it.
This nigga's a homosexual.
This nigga's a homosexual.
So just off that first song, just off the rip, we already knew this was gonna be something to remember. The vibes were just completely off the fucking charts. Everyone was dancing, the music, the lights. And on top of that, I was like a little buzzed and like cross-faded at the same time. So I was just in this state of like amazement. I was kind of feeling weird because like I just graduated that same day. And everything in my mind, just my mental state, it's just undescribable, man. I had my homie, like my best fucking homie of all time, right next to me. Some absolutely fire ass boner jams. I couldn't ask for anything better, honestly, in the moment. The show was just fucking, it brings me to tears to this day, man. And, you know, realistically, I can't, you know, yap too much about the concert, because like, what can I fucking say? You know, we stood there for like 2 or 3 hours listening to music, you know, nothing eventful happened. So I'm just gonna quickly highlight some of my favorite songs / performances from Turnover. Gotta say, my favorite song off this album, hands down, has to be either Dizzy on the Come Down or New Scream. Both great songs and both excellent live performances. I'm telling you, honestly, I preferred, like, the memory I have of the song being played live is better than listening to the actual fucking song. That's how much I'm hyping these dudes up. But pretty much the whole time, me and Zach barely said any words to each other. You know, aside from like pass the pen or like let me get a swig of that can, we truly were just sitting there like a bunch of fucking goobers with our hands in our pockets and just, you know, just kind of taking in the whole experience. But, you know, it gets to the time where the band is wrapping up, you know, they say thank you to everybody, and we're just like, fuck, man. Like, we're just feeling shell-shocked as fuck, and we have nothing but good things to say about this show. So, you know, as soon as we peep out that the show is ending and, like, people are dipping, we, you know, we kind of go ahead and, like, go towards like the back of the crowd and towards the exit and all that. Like, from the second this show was over, we were already yapping about it nonstop. So yeah, we leave the venue. We're sad we have to leave, but unfortunately it's time for us to check into our hotel and get up to our ghoul shit. Any hint of daylight is just completely gone at this point. It's just pitch black outside, you know, as pitch black as it can get in Chicago. So, you know, we hop in the rental car and we make our way over to the hotel, which was like a good 40 minutes to an hour away. Chicago is a pretty big fucking city. It took us forever to get anywhere in this fucking place. So yeah, regardless, we're whipping it to the hotel. We get there, and like I said earlier, this is where the real ghoul shit happens. You know, so far in the trip, I've been going pretty tame. I haven't really been drinking that much or like, you know, smoking heavy or anything. But let me fucking tell you, as soon as we get to this fucking hotel, all bets are fucking off, dude. So yeah, we get there, we get situated, nice and comfortable. And as soon as we step foot inside this hotel room, something happened. Our brains just started receiving these tweaker signals. It's like me and Zach's brains were just giving us one objective only. Tonight, we are not falling asleep. We're passing the fuck out. There's a difference. We are getting as fucked up as humanly possible. As fucked up as the amount of alcohol we had could get us. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that like bucket that comes filled with like a shit ton of fireball shooters. It comes with like 20 of them, and we start downing these motherfuckers like they're the Danimal yogurts. You know, we're going shot for shot here and there. Just absolutely no regard for our well-being. And you know, that's the way it should be. But yeah, after acquiring an extra chromosome each and, you know, losing some brain cells, Zach kind of just throws on a little show in the background. He wanted me to tell you that he religiously spammed Boy Meets World throughout this whole trip. And you know, who am I to say no to a good sitcom, especially while I'm fucked up? So yeah, we throw on this show after a night of straight debauchery, and we all just kind of start passing out one by one. And now the morning rolls along, right? You would think, you know, us being like respectable young gentlemen, we would you know, be a little more responsible. You would think, oh, they already had a night of drinking, so they'll probably just wait till the afternoon to start drinking again, right? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Yeah, it's not happening. So, you know, straight off the wake up, Zach tosses me a little fireball shooter. We proceed to down that bitch together, you know, no biggie. Some people like their coffee in the morning, you know, me and Zach, you know, we like our liquor. I will readily acknowledge. Call me Jacob fucking Jones the way me and Zach be in them public parks drunk as fuck. Anywho, it's now day 2 of the trip, pretty much, and this was like the transition day. You know, we didn't have a concert on this day. The weekend show was on day 3, the last day. So on this day, we only really wanted to do one thing, and that was just chill in the hot tub. I know I haven't really touched on this aspect, but like this whole trip, we've been fiending for this hot tub. We've been really anticipating this fucking hot tub. When Zach was initially booking the hotel, he made sure to specifically book one that had a fucking hot tub. We was not playing about this shit. So me and Zach go down to the office and ask if the hot tub was up and running. And they're talking about, so it's not working right now. We need to get someone to work on it and whatever, whatnot. Mind you, we were not fucking early birds on this day. We did not get the fucking worm. I'm pretty sure it was like early to mid-afternoon, somewhere in between like 10 to 1. Again, my memory is pretty foggy, especially on this fucking day. I'm being 100% serious when I say this. I am not a heavy drinker whatsoever. I think this day I've consumed more alcohol than I ever have in a single day ever.
Brother, I was with him one night when he drank 106 beers. 106. Yeah.
So it's a fucking miracle I can remember this much, let alone. But regardless, we're obviously pissed off here. Hotel pools usually open around 9 or 10, and this hotel was no exception. It said that all of the amenities in the pool room would be open by 10. So, you know, they say they're gonna get someone to work on it for us, and it should be up and running in a few hours. So, you know, we take the walk of shame back up to the hotel room. And, you know, the boys were getting hungry. You know, those little snacks we had was not holding us over. We needed some actual nutrition. So, you know, we're thinking if we go out to get some food and come back, you know, maybe the hot tub will be up and running. So we find this little breakfast spot on like Google Maps or something, and we head over there. I'm gonna go ahead and flash some images up on screen of us eating here. You know, some ungodly levels of gluttony were demonstrated here on my part mostly. What can I say, man? These waffles are like something you would see in like some sort of fucking McDonald's ad where like, you know, it's all fucking fake. But nah, this shit was real food. After this, we end up whipping it back to the hotel. You know, me and Zach start drinking again and whatever, whatnot. Before making our way up to our room, we did check if the hot tub was ready, and it wasn't. But at this point, me and Zach are getting very, very bored, so we just said fuck it, and we went down to the pool. We're like, you know, if we can't have the hot tub, fine, but we're at least gonna enjoy the pool. So, you know, we grabbed the essentials. Me and Zach both down like 2 fireball shooters, and additionally, we bring 3 each with us. And like a bunch of fucking buffoons, we just run down the hallway towards the elevator, you know, just stumbling and falling like a bunch of drunk morons. Hey, but let me tell you, at this point, we weren't a quarter of the way as fucked up as we were gonna get on this day. So me and Zach make our way down to the pool room, and as an act of desperation, we try one more time to turn on this hot tub. We're just holding on to our last hopes at this point. And to our amazement, it was finally up and running. It turned on. And we're looking at each other like, holy fucking shit. There's no fucking way. We're hooting and hollering all over this fucking pool room, you know, and we get to chilling immediately. We lay our asses down in that hot tub like a bunch of squatters who don't want to leave. And at the same time, we're just downing these fireball shots that we brought with us. But very quickly, me and Zach look at each other and we're like, oh no, dude, this is kind of fucked up. You know, we kind of realized that we don't have any fireball shooters left. You know, we'd only brought 3 of them with us, and you know, that was a big fucking problem. And you know, you could have sworn the ghost of Nikola Tesla himself possessed us when we finally came up with this genius solution. We're gonna go back upstairs and get more fireball shooters. And you know, we're pretty fucking deep now. Like, we're not just tipsy. We're drunk uncle at a family reunion levels of drunk right now. We're at the level of drunk where you think it's a good idea to hatch a fucking ATM to the back of your truck and pull off with that shit. And you know, for some reason at the state we were at, we thought it was an excellent idea to just run as fast as we possibly could down these hallways. You know, as if we didn't have the navigational capabilities of a fucking walnut at this point. I remember us getting off the elevator and getting to our floor, and we're just like looking down this hallway. And I'm gonna be honest here, there's a lot of blanks in my memory here. I was really sloshed. I was really fucked up. But the next thing I remember, we're just fucking booking it down this hallway, and we're running so fast that we don't realize how close we are to each other. And like on some Looney Tunes shit, our legs get caught up with each other's. We just both fucking eat shit on the ground face first. The whole time we're bursting out in tears laughing. Absolutely zero regard for the peace and tranquility of those around us. And you know, after this, we just cannot fucking stop laughing. You know, we're at that point where absolutely everything is funny. A bunch of coins could fall out my pocket and we'd start seizing on the floor uncontrollably. As far as day 2 goes, that's about all that happened. Aside from we went eating like one other time, we came back, we enjoyed the hot tub a little more, we smoked, we drank, and we passed out. Much like the concert, there's only so much I can yap about. But day 3 rolls along, and at this point the hotel, you could have sworn this was like some fucking crack den, okay? That might be some major hyperbole on my end, but for the most part, there was just a lot of cans and trash everywhere. I'm a pretty clean person when it comes to like my space. I don't really like to be around clutter and filth. But I'm not gonna lie, man. At this point, I didn't give a single fuck. But yeah, it's finally day 3. We've been really anticipating this weekend show. I'm sure I don't have to explain as much of who the weekend is as I had to do for Turnover. This specific concert was a part of the Hurry Up Tomorrow tour. It was like a full, you know, stadium concert experience. A pretty stark contrast to the concert we had just been to. But yeah, most of this day was just spent like cleaning up after ourselves and just preparing ourselves for this concert. If I can remember correctly, we just did a bunch of shit to make the time pass. Went out a few times, we might have hit the pool room. I really don't remember. This day is honestly kind of a haze for me, more so even than day 2. I don't know if that's because of the post-traumatic alcoholism or whatever, but the show was much later in the afternoon. I'm pretty sure doors opened and, you know, all the opening artists started at around like 6. So like I said, we were all eager as fuck and excited. Me personally, I was excited because I'd been listening to The Weeknd since I was a kid. In my head, when I think back to the year like 2016 or like even 2015, The Weeknd's just the artist that brings all those memories pouring back, good and bad. So needless to say, I was pumped to listen to all my favorite Weeknd songs live, and I got to listen to all of them. So after a couple of hours of us just sitting around waiting, we kind of underestimate how far this fucking stadium was. I don't really know Chicago. I don't quote me on this, but if I could remember correctly, I'm pretty sure it was somewhere downtown Chicago, and we were an hour and some change away from that. So upon us realizing this, you know, we look at the clock and we realize that we had to leave now. Like, we're probably already gonna be late to the show, but there's a good chance we'll still make it in time for the weekend if we leave now. So, you know, us being the raging bumbling buffoons we are, we hurry up and get to the rental car, and we're fucking whipping it to this stadium. And honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that everybody else on the road in this city was driving equally as fucking reckless, we probably would have been on the news this day. Jokes aside, we were on our way, but as I was checking my phone for the time, I'd noticed that the show had already started, and we were very likely missing the opening artist, which I was very upset about. I don't know who the other opening artists were, but I know one of them was Playboi Carti. I did end up getting to see him. He did pop out during the weekend performance, but I'm not a Cardi dick rider by any means, but I am a partaker in his music here and there. But yeah, it's safe to say I had a big time frown on my face for that one. I was just very hyped for that specific opening performance. But worry not, good morrow. All hope is not lost yet. We weren't really that far out from the stadium at this point, and you know, we realized that maybe we are missing the opening performance, but we're for sure not missing the weekend. It's gonna take time for them to set up everything, and we ended up getting there very much in time, kind of. So we pull up. Initially we thought it was going to take forever to find parking, but it was actually extraordinarily easy. So, you know, we get the old steam engine parked up, the old locomotives all taken care of, and we get to walk into the stadium. It's a little ways away from the parking lot, but it's no more than like a 5-minute walk. But we get to the place that we have to like show our tickets, and we go through security, and the whole trip, Zach's older brother had been carrying this like fanny pack thing that like held his portable charger. And apparently he wasn't supposed to have that. Like he couldn't have that in the fucking venue. So it was either throw it away or go back to the car and store it there. And he didn't really want to throw it away. I didn't blame him. So he had to go all the way back to the parking lot. We had to sit there and wait for him while we were already pretty late. I think we actually decided on like just looking around the place while we were waiting for him. We didn't like stay in one place. We walked around a little bit, peeped out like all the food and like shops and everything. The stadium was set up in like a big circle kind of thing. If anyone's ever been to this stadium in Chicago, you know what I'm talking about. It's just like a huge circle. You get to walk around, and there's like shops and like restaurants and food and like merch, all sorts of things to spend your money on. So we're just walking around until we all reunite, and we realize that we don't know how to find our seats. Like, this is a huge place, and the signs and everything, I'm not gonna lie, were not helping. They were not helpful whatsoever. And we ended up asking like a couple of different people working there for directions, but their answers were also just kind of poopy, like just not really helpful at all either. So we're just like frantically looking around trying to find where the fuck we're sitting at, because it wasn't just one floor either. So not only was this place fucking huge, but there was multiple fucking floors to this shit. So we're just kind of freaking out a little bit, but not completely. We still have like a small amount of composure, but trust me, the supply of patience in between the three of us, it's depleting rapidly. As we're trying to find it, we're getting closer and closer, but this is what I meant earlier by we were kind of on time. As we're frantically trying to look for our seats, the show is starting. Like, the weekend is popping out as we speak. He's like being summoned like the fucking Wither. And I'm not gonna lie, like, this is something me and Zach very often say about this moment. It very much felt like a movie. The first song of the night starts playing. There's these like red lights going everywhere, and we're just running. Like, we are running at this point. We were sprinting before, but now we were like, fuck, the show is starting. We need to get to our seats now. So while this like tension building music is playing in the background, like the weekend is literally about to come on stage.
What did you just say? You're gay! He's gay!
We have all like this like fucking lighting, like this red terrifying lighting everywhere, and we're just running. Like it felt like a literal scene from a movie. And you know, we're frantically asking this one guy, this is like security guard I guess, for directions, and he was able to point us to like the correct general area of where our seats was. And we get there, and at this point the show has started. Like, bro is on stage, he's performing the first song. It's really loud. So we get to like the correct general area, and we still can't find our seats. We're asking this one guy that was like there to help people. We're kind of showing him like the phone, like our tickets and everything, and he's trying to point somewhere and like yell something, but it's really loud. Like, we couldn't hear him. So we would like ask him, and he would sit there and say something, and we would just pretend like we could understand what he was saying. We would go and try to find our seats ourselves, but we just couldn't fucking find it. And I'm not gonna lie, this is the point where our patience completely fades. We're getting kind of pissed and snappy at each other, especially me and Zach's older brother. And me and Zach kind of get into it a little bit, but it was just a very tense, like high stress situation. So for the time being, we find these like 3 seats that I know damn well not ours. And Zach's older brother kind of says, well, why don't we just sit here? The view's not that bad. We can't find our seats, so we might as well just sit down for a second. And I'm like, that's not a good idea. The people who actually paid for these seats are most likely on their way right now. And we just kind of like start yelling and arguing at each other, like, whatever, whatnot, hooting and hollering, if you will. And I'm like, fine, fuck it. If we're just gonna sit here and get embarrassed, at least I tried. And not even 10 seconds later, we see these people pulling up the stairs, and lo and behold, you never would have guessed where their seats were. So I'm just kind of shooting these two goobers with this kind of I told you so kind of look. I was very fucking annoyed, I ain't gonna lie. But after a little bit of struggle, we find our seats finally, and we just sit down. After cooling off, after all the tension kind of wears off, we kind of all just say we're sorry, and we just agree to enjoy the show. No more arguing, no more bickering, and I'm all up for that, because at the end of the day, we're here to see the weekend, we're here to chill, we're here to enjoy the vibes, and that is what we did, boys. I'm gonna go ahead and like flash some videos and stuff I took on screen. One thing I'd really like to point out is the view. We didn't get the most expensive tickets. That would have been us like being actually like on the ground floor, like next to the stage and all of that. But honestly, I loved being able to sit, and like we were pretty damn high up in this fucking stadium. So not only were we able to see the whole stage and everything, but we had this amazing kick-ass view of the skyline in the city. There was like pyrotechnics here and there, like fireworks and stuff. So you already know all of that looked amazing from up there. Much like the turnover concert, we were just like not really saying many words to each other. We were just really taking in the experience. It was really a privilege to be able to hear a bunch of songs that I loved from like my childhood, like live and in person. Even still to this day, like the memory I have of this show kind of just doesn't even feel real almost. But yeah, this video has been like a month plus in the making. I've just been juggling this and my schoolwork and music. So much dumb shit and like avoidable things happened in this trip. I just wanted to yap about it. I'm gonna be shifting all my focus into my next EP that'll be coming out this year. So more than likely the next few uploads that are gonna be on this channel are gonna be music related. If anyone's made it all the way here, wow, genuinely thank you. This video is more so just for me to like listen back and like remember and reminisce. But if you found any entertainment and like enjoyment out of it, that's definitely a plus. But yeah, that's about it. Later.